Sea of Red, it's time for another Fireside Chat, the official podcast of Flames fans. It's go time.
Happy New Year, everybody. We are back and ready to start the second half of this hockey season. As always, I'm Dan alongside Matt. Matt, did you have a good New Year's Eve?
Oh, yes. Anytime you can see the Flames beat the Flyers 5-1 and enjoy the festivities after the game, it's always good.
That always used to be the Montreal game, I remember. For years, Montreal would be here on New Year's Eve. And, I don't know. I don't care about the Flyers on New Year's Eve. It feels like that should be one of those games that they force schedule.
Yeah. Well, at least Calgary is always given the opportunity to select that date to make sure that they're on the schedule.
We opened, was it last season we opened against the Flyers too and nobody really cared?
Yes.
So we seem to have the Flyers in at times nobody really cares about. But let's step away from that discussion. Let's talk about the week that was for the Flames. Pretty good week. The Flames have been home since the Christmas break. They played that game on the 27th against Edmonton, and then the Boston Bruins came to town. This one went to overtime. Wolf made 24 saves, and Boston has now lost its past 6 games after this one. I don't know how they've done since then. Flames win 2-1 in overtime. Blake Coleman scores in regulation. Zari scores unassisted in overtime. Technically, Zari doesn't... Well, it's an own goal, but it's credited to Zari.
Yeah. That was a bizarre goal.
Two own goals in 2 games.
I know. Just a weird bounce on that one. But hey, it counts.
You know, I mean, okay, if you're going to score on yourself... This is the game to do it. You'd hate for this to be in the playoffs or something that, qualifying game, sure, we'll take it. And it's not really... This game is not going to impact either team's season.
No.
But it was funny that, to me, it was funny that the winner was an own goal. And a guy who needs a goal in Connor Zary. What were your overall thoughts on this one?
I thought that both teams were okay. I felt that the Flames definitely did not have the best third period, only managing 1 shot. They were kind of limping into overtime, and thankfully Boston took care of it for us.
When you can't win your own game,
yeah, just rely on the other team to score on themselves. It's all good.
That's right.
It works.
Steve Smith has got to be proud of this one.
Yep.
Yeah, I would agree with you. It didn't seem like the best Flames game. I thought the Flames were lucky to keep this one tied up. And I mean, we say this so often, right? That Dustin Wolf kind of kept them in this game. But yeah, good for you for finding the 2 points. And in the end, we don't care how we get them, whether we get them or they give them to us. But 2 points, 2 points. And I think the Flames will take it and move on.
Exactly. It's not always going to be a pretty game, but, they all count.
That's right. And then the next one, New Year's Eve, the one you were talking about, the Philadelphia Flyers come to town for their 1 game in Calgary this year. 5-1 win for the Flames, Dustin Wolf in net again. And this time the Flames get goals from Backlund, Huberdeau, Anderson, Sharon Govich, and Zari again. This time Zari actually scores the goal. However, this time Calgary scores on ourselves to give Travis Konechny the 1 goal for the Flyers.
Yep. It's been a fun week this week. Even Wolf with the giveaway in the Nashville game. Just, yeah. It's like, here, it's the season of giving. We'll just give you a goal.
I thought it was, I don't know, I thought it was like hockey karma that we get a goal from the other team in one game and the next game we immediately give it back.
Yep. The Flames were just better than the Flyers in this one. Honestly, I don't understand exactly in the 2 times that we've seen the Flyers this year that how they are 5th in the East, considering how good the East is right now.
I don't really understand what the Flyers are. I don't know if they're rebuilding. I don't know if they think that they're a playoff team. I don't know if they're the Calgary Flames of old in the East where they're just trying to make it in every year. I'm really not sure what this team is.
Yeah, they're just like a random collection of miscellaneous parts that seem to be meshing well enough to be
sort of like
good.
The 04 Flames.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't quite know what this team is trying to be or thinks that they are.
Yeah, it's like, oh, well, we have these parts. Sure, it works. Yay, we win.
I was surprised in this one that Dan Vladar did not get the net.
Well, if I recall correctly, he didn't get the start in the other game either. And
No, but this was in Calgary. Like, it's an inconsequential game. If I was the coach, I probably would have stuck Dan Vladar in net in Calgary.
Yeah, it's one of those I can understand because that like all the Flames players would know his tendencies and all of that. So maybe there's a little bit of fear there, but you know, like the amount of times that a goalie will stick it to their old team is also usually very high. So you know, who knows?
I think one thing we should point out here, of the 5 goals the Flames got, 2 of them power play goals. And for a team that's struggling on special teams this year, I thought it was really good to see 2 power play goals, 2 in a row. It was the Anderson and the Sharon Govich goals, both on the power play there.
Yeah, and that's basically been the main reason why the Flames have been so poor this season, is that they're getting virtually no help from anybody. That like our number 1 power play is worse than most teams' second power play unit, and like there's just nobody that can effectively hit the net.
Flames had 3 power plays in this one and scored on 2 of them, so 66.7% efficiency, pretty good there. I'll be honest, I thought this was a fun game. I didn't think the Flames played the best game.
No.
Like you tend to sometimes overlook that when the score is this high, but the Flames didn't do a great job.
No, they were good enough, and frankly, the quality of the play from the opponent helped a great deal. Like the Flyers did not have a good game at all.
No, they didn't, and it was, yeah. I mean, neither team had a good game. Right? Like it was let's just be honest. It was a fun game. It was New Year's Eve, but it was not good hockey from either team.
No.
So
how would you say it felt like basically everybody on both teams was looking forward to the festivities afterwards than, focusing on the game itself. And usually the New Year's Eve game in the ones that I've been to usually are, okay, this is what we're calling defense, is it? type affair.
So now the Calgary Flames have won the season series against the Flyers 2-0 on November 2nd. They won 2-1, and this one they won 5-1. So we swept the 2-game series against this Eastern Conference opponent. And then we roll into the game that was on January 3rd, last night as we record this, a 4-3 win for Nashville in the Dome. 2 teams that came into this with the exact same record. It was really a 4-point game if you look at it that way. Things got heated in the first. Beecher leaves the game after a fight. He's not normally a fighter. It was just a weird game all the way around. We had, as you mentioned earlier, Wolf misplayed a puck. I don't think he looked like himself all night. This was I would say, a mess of a game for the Flames.
Yes, and Wolf, he was both spectacular and extremely terrible at the same time. Like, some of the saves that he made were, like highlight reel saves, and then, some really boneheaded plays, like the, for all intents and purposes, own goal. And, yeah, this was just an odd game. Like, after Backlund's goal got waved off in the first period, like, the Flames were controlling the play up until that point, and then they didn't really seem to be back into it until the third period. And, like they did manage to eventually get the equalizer, but then they gave up the late goal. Like, it was just an all over the place kind of effort by the team.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of this one. Like, these are 2 bad teams, right? These are 2 teams that were, at the bottom of the stands. You kind of expected this, but it was a lot more messy than I thought it was. And when I was watching this game, the first thing I thought is Calgary is not playing Calgary's game. This is not the Calgary Flames game that we're used to. This is how the Flames get into trouble, as they go out and they, play these games and they don't play with their system and they end up screwing themselves over. And I think that's a lot of what happened here as well. And I don't know, as a coach, what you're going to have to do in order to get them to play the way you want. But to me, and I don't know if you'd feel the same way, is this just felt like a collection of players playing hockey, and there was really no semblance of a system.
Yeah, and it also doesn't help when guys like Huberdeau, Coronado, and Kadri are basically playing more invisible than what Sharangovich did when he got benched. Like, none of those players over the last few weeks have done virtually anything in the lineup. And, yes, Kadri was hot earlier, but, none of those guys are doing anything that, and the Flames over the last few weeks have been carried by mostly the Backlund-Coleman line and the Flames' fourth line with Lomberg and Klapka. And they're not really getting any contributions with any regularity from anybody else.
This team this year, and I mean, we'll have this discussion in the future because we've got some other things to discuss today, but I think this team is only as good as the veterans are playing. And when the veterans are looking off, I think that this team is going to look off.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the Flames rely on here. So we're now at the midpoint of the season, 41 games into an 82-game season. This is the last time we'll ever play an 82-game season because they move up by 2 games next year. The Flames now have 16 wins, 18 losses, and 7 overtime losses. So 16, 18, and 7. So they've lost a lot more than they've won at this point with 39 points, which puts them 13th in the Western Conference. And when we look at the Western Conference wildcard race, still puts them at 7th. Calgary has 40 points. Chicago, Vancouver, and Winnipeg below the Flames at 39, 37, 34. Right above Calgary, the Utah Mammoth at 41, St. Louis at 42, and 43 points. Seattle and LA hold the wild card spot. So as you and I have talked about for so long, the Flames are equally as close to the wild card as they are to the bottom.
Yeah, and they did get up to within a point on New Year's Eve of being a wild card team, and they lose one game, and now they are 3 points out, and there are now 6 teams between them, and yeah, it's hard when you lose just one game and your whole track that you've been building upon gets ruined again, and now they're third from the bottom in the NHL once more, and only a point up on Chicago and 3 up on Vancouver for third and second. So if they have any sort of fallback at all, they're gonna be right back where they were basically in the middle of November.
What really surprised me when I looked this week is how much Winnipeg has fallen.
Yeah, they're having weird games where they're doing everything right and then they just choke at the end, and there's been so many 1-goal losses for them.
We'll have this discussion.
They will figure it out because they're too good of a team to be this bad. It's just it's one of those stretches where if it could go wrong, it is, and
it makes me wonder, and we'll have this discussion in the future, if it stays, because like you said, I think they'll figure it out, but I wonder if they stay this way, if Anderson becomes less valuable to Flames, because if Winnipeg starts to sell assets, I think they have better assets to sell in defense. Should Winnipeg decide to sell assets and embrace the bottom?
Yeah. I honestly don't feel that Winnipeg is, ready to, cut bait with everybody and, enter a rebuild. They were kind of figuring that they were supposed to be, a contending team this year, and... I
agree.
Sometimes
I think Winnipeg's problem for years has been they're relying too much on Hellebuck.
Mm-hmm.
And with Hellebuck out for a portion of the season, they've struggled.
Oh, for sure.
But we could say the same about Vancouver.
Yeah. And, realistically, Winnipeg could use a lot of help, in the prospect pool, because they don't really have one. And, as good as Cole Perfetti is, he is not going to be your first line forward moving forward. And, they don't, if they did, luck out and get, a top 3 pick, that would definitely help their organization in the long run. It's just, that's certainly not according to the script that they've been wanting to do. And, like there was that one year when the Flyers got James Van Riemsdyk, even though they had like their entire, Stanley Cup team on the roster, and, they ended up getting the second overall pick that year. And sometimes stuff like that happens. It's just, unfortunate for like when you have like all the expectations of being a good team and the wheels fall off.
The Flames, like you said, have looked pretty good so far. I mean, if we look at this, the Flames are 10-2-1 in their last 13 games at home. And really the last time I think that they lost 2 in a row in regulation was November 9th and 11th. Like, this team has looked like they've figured things out in a way from where we saw them in October. But there's just still so much ground to cover.
Well, and that's why it's so hard when you get that far behind the 8 ball, where you basically have to play pristine hockey for months just to get back into the conversation. And like, even though like they have been virtually, impeccable since the middle of November, one loss and they're still third from the bottom, and they have 6 teams between them and a playoff spot. And it's hard to make up ground when you have that many teams in the way, because everybody kind of goes up and down in that 6 group. Like LA is now on the bottom side of it when they were on the top, but other teams have leapfrogged them, and it's just hard to, when you're that far back, to actually make up the ground.
Yep. I think the big story for the Flames in 2026, I mean, it was the big story in 2025, half of the season as well, but where do these guys finish, right? They're so close to the wild card, but also close to the bottom. I think as Flames fans, we know that finishing near the bottom is what's best for this team, but also, I mean, with there being such parity between a lot of these teams, you might almost accidentally fall into a wild card spot.
Yeah, well, and you look at, like, frankly, all the teams in the West, except for Colorado, Dallas, and Minnesota, all of the teams are garbage. Like, there's no good teams, out of the rest of them. And, like, even, like, Vegas and Anaheim, like, they have serious structural flaws. It's just that, well, somebody has to win games, and, like, marginally certain teams are doing slightly better than others, but, like a 5-game losing streak, and, like, a team like Edmonton could go from leading the division to being 14th. Like, it's such a bizarre stretch.
There's not a lot of teams, when you're saying good teams, that I think are playoff ready, or, let's say deep playoff ready in the West, but I think that there's, like, San Jose is taking the step they need to take. Like, I think we're seeing some teams that are progressing the way they need to.
Yeah, same with Anaheim. It's just that, like, a team like Anaheim and San Jose, like, they both have holes in their roster, which is normal for a rebuilding team. And it kind of incumbent on them if they want to just be patient and let things grow organically, or do they try to add and force things? Like, say one of those teams going out and getting, like, Rasmus Anderson to take that next step. We'll see, but there are other teams like LA who are kind of in that mushy middle that are not good and not bad, and basically were the Flames of, yesteryear, where what are we doing? Who knows?
No, I think you're totally right there. Coming back to the Flames, contract signing this week. I won't say a big contract signing, but I would say a good contract sign, in my opinion. Devin Cooley signs a 2-year deal with the Flames worth $2.7 million. So that's a cap hit of $1.35 per season. Cooley's currently 28 years old. That'll put him here till he's 30. And I guess you can say now that the Flames have their goaltending tandem for the next foreseeable future here in Wolf and Cooley. This is a one-way deal. So, I mean, being 28, you'd have to go through waivers anyways. Looking at the Wranglers, I don't think Prosvetov or Owen Say or Sergeyev are ready for the NHL in 3 years. So to me, this is a good deal. It's a great number, I think, for a backup. And Devin Cooley is a guy so it's better to dance with the devil you know than the devil you don't. If it not Cooley, it would have just been a random backup number 6, sort of like we saw with Kipper's reign. So I like that idea of having the stability. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, and how would you say having somebody with a fun personality also helps to basically be the cheerleader? We saw that with like Jamie McLennan back in the day, and like for somebody,
I love Cooley's media interviews. He's a fun guy. People like following his Rabbit Tito on social media.
Yeah, and it's one of those where you're gonna need to have somebody in the room that like everybody can get along with, that especially for a not overly important role on the team. So having another glue guy in your organization that helps in the locker room, much like how Lomberg has helped the organization, like those things matter to the culture of the team. And to be able to basically pencil in the backup for the next couple of years while, if his play falls off a cliff, throwing that in the minors is no big deal. Like you're only going to have like a $300,000 cap hit from, him being in the minors if they need to. So like, that's not a big deal. It's not like he's getting 2+ a year.
I don't see a scenario where you send Cooley back down to the AHL.
Yeah, well, it's just like if his play gets to be that bad where just, anybody else is better.
Yeah.
Which can happen.
Can happen, yeah. And I mean, let's be honest. Cooley's had a good year. I think this is probably an anomaly for Cooley this year, is being as good as he is, but it's nice to see he's bounced back from what we saw in the second half of his AHL season last year. But I like this guy. Like you said, good room guy, wants to be in Calgary. I think that's an important thing for the Flames right now. A guy who wants to be in Calgary. Fans like him. I think the players like him. If you want to be here, why not? And I don't think that when I look ahead to the next couple of seasons of free agency, you go, oh, wow, there's a guy I'd rather have than Cooley in that backup role. He's fine as a backup.
Yeah. And, like, realistically, like, the Flames are not in a huge push to get another young goaltender in. Like, you always keep adding until...
Yeah, you keep adding, but I don't think the Prosvetov, Say, or Sergeyev, like I said earlier, are, ready in the next 3 years. So you keep adding, you work them through the AHL and ECHL systems, but it's not like when Dustin Wolf was there banging on the door. I don't think you've got that next guy.
No.
Owen Say's looked okay this year in the AHL. He's 24, playing his first pro season. You got to give him a couple more years. I saw Sergeyev in the Colorado game. I was at that one for the Wranglers. He didn't look great. And Prosvetov, I wouldn't be surprised if he goes back to Europe.
Yeah.
Like, this team has their young goalie in Wolf, so it buys them some time. And, this guy, I think the Noodles comparison is a really good one, of comparing him to Jamie McLennan. And we've got to know, I didn't know anything about Cooley's personality before this year. He's really become, like you said, sort of a fixture with the media, and everybody remembers his great quote about all the things he says to himself and Ned about how, everything's terrible and the world's going to end and all that. Like, he's become quite an interesting character here, and I think especially when you're rebuilding, you need those characters, those guys that the media can go to get the quote on a hard night.
Exactly, and it'll be interesting to see like how things shake up organizationally over the next 2 years, to see if there's anybody knocking at the door to potentially be the new backup, or if Cooley gets extended once more. But it's good to have a little bit of certainty with the group that's there.
I mean, let's be honest. If this rebuild is going to be a 3, 4, 5 year project, you don't need a better goalie than Cooley for the next 3, 4 years.
No.
Right? I think Devin Cooley's fine. He's good. He'll be I don't see the Flames ever getting value out of these 2 years if they wanted to trade him or anything, but I think you'll see him as a Flame for 2 years and then, like you said, reevaluate at that point. Another piece of news for the Flames is Andrew Basha, their prospect. Basha was a Second round pick, number 41 in 2024. He's 20 years old. He's played 27 games with the Calgary Wranglers this year and was sent back from the Wranglers to the WHL, going to the Medicine Hat Tigers. Basha skated in 27 games with the Wranglers this year. He collected 5 points, 1 goal, and 4 assists, and 33 penalty minutes, along with a -7 rating. You don't see this very often, where a guy will play this far with an AHL team and then get sent back to junior. Since being sent back, he's played in 2 games and has 2 points. And when I look at that, I'm like, yeah, maybe this is more where this guy should be. He was the alternate for the Tigers last year, got 29 points in 23 games. I've seen him play a few times in the AHL. He looked out of his element. And I think that, I've seen some talk online about this. This, I think, was the right move. Put the guy where he should be. He's going to develop better in the dub, I believe, than he is at the AHL level this year. He's got to be in the AHL next year, the ECHL, but why not let him, go to the WHL and feel more comfortable?
Well, especially his team, the Medicine Hat Tigers, is one of the elite teams in the WHL, and he needs to regain his confidence. Like, after being hurt for basically most of the time since he's been drafted, getting back to fundamentals and finding the success that made you a second-round pick is important for his development, and playing third, fourth line minutes in the AHL is not going to help him as much as, being the guy in the WHL, playing on the first line, being, relied on as that experienced veteran guy. And it harkens back to our discussion about Parek last week, where, we were discussing about, him potentially going back to the dub to regain that confidence. It'll be interesting.
OHL.
Oh, yes. To regain that confidence in his offensive game. And we've seen the resurgence from Parek at the World Juniors, and I feel that Basha needs to have that kind of, kick in the pants to get, back into being himself on the ice instead of playing a little tentatively like he has in the A.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I think that this might, I had in our notes here, what does this mean for Parek? I think that the fact that they're willing to do it, I want to wait and see what they do with Parek. I don't know if it's worth rehashing that again, but I wouldn't be surprised to see them do the same with Parek. And you and I have talked about many times, development's not a linear cycle, right? And if Basha needs to go back to the dub or Parek needs to go back to the OHL, why not let them? Why not let them do that, look better, get more confident, and then in the offseason figure out, okay, what were the struggles as we moved up to the pro level and deal with it then?
Yeah, okay, here's your homework over the summer. Work on the areas that you're weak at. And
now you know what it takes to be an AHL player. So, we're not just telling you, you've experienced it.
Yeah, and so you know how to push yourself in the right ways. And, hopefully take that next step so you can establish yourself at that level the next year.
Yeah, exactly. And, I know fans often look at this as almost a failing of the player. I don't think it is. And it's, what, we want Basha to be successful, and if this is what it takes, why not? The WHL is still a good league. It's not they've sent him down to the USHL or something. Like you said, the Medicine Hat Tigers, a good team. I think this is going to be good for his development. And, you made the Freudian slip earlier about sending Zane Parek to the OHL. It's actually interesting. I was thinking about this over the weekend because your availability for the CHL depends on where you live. It's based on residency. So if Zane Parek is living in Alberta, should he still be OHL eligible? I don't know. Do you release him and put him on the Hitmen? I'm not sure what you do there.
Yeah.
I can't see a 19-year-old pro now wanting to go live with a billet. I'm not sure what you're going to do.
Yeah, fun times.
So it'd be an interesting thing to find out. If he goes down there, where does he live? Is he living in a hotel? Is he, there's a guy making NHL money now. You're not going to want to live with a billet. So it'd be an interesting story if nothing else.
Yeah, and one other thing I wanted to mention separately, apparently Beecher is going to be having a hearing for his punch on McCarron in the Nashville game. So he's hurt and left the game with an injury, so him getting suspended, it's like, meh. Because
hopefully we can make the suspension as long as the injury.
Yes.
Okay, that way he's not losing extra time. I thought John Beecher looked good since he's joined the Flames.
I agree.
And it's going to suck to lose him, but it's going to let someone else step in the lineup, which we've also talked about being important this year.
Welcome back, Costco.
Well, I mean, he's the logical choice, right? But
Yeah.
I could also see them bringing up a guy like Cairns or, someone else, maybe a Stromgren. We'll see what the Flames end up doing there. But yeah, I think Kirkland is the logical choice to step in there. Another logical choice was for the Swedish 2026 Olympic men's roster. Rasmus Andersson has been named to the team. Michael Backlund has not. Does that surprise you?
No, not really. He has been one of the best defensemen in the entire NHL this year. It makes sense that he was one of the first players selected for Team Sweden.
As much as we love Backlund, I think at the Olympics you're often going for the more offensive guys. And let's be honest, Backlund's a two-way forward. I think that from a marketing perspective, there's a lot better players you could have put on that team if you take our Calgary homerism out of it.
Yeah,
I would have loved to see the captain in there, and he still might make it as an injury replacement, but I'm not surprised that Backlund wasn't.
Yeah, if Sweden wasn't quite as deep of a team, Backlund probably makes it as the defensive center. It's just that they have too much depth, and would I have been shocked if he did make it? No. Am I shocked that he didn't make it? No.
If he was announcing this was his last year or something, I could have seen him bringing him out of respect. But without that, I think I don't know where he fits on this roster when I look at their centers. He's an older guy. He's looked okay. Yeah, I don't know where you'd put him there. If it was his last year, I could totally see them bringing him. But he hasn't made that announcement, and he's still got time on his contract. So, I don't know. Maybe he'll make it till the next Olympics, the 2030.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, Matt, it's time for our main event. At the beginning of the season, you and I sat down and we made some predictions for how this season was going to go, what we thought would happen with the Flames this season. We made these predictions on the 4th of October. You ready to look at how we're doing halfway through?
No.
But I'll tell you, I had to go through last night and look at these. We're doing a lot better than last year. So I'll give us that.
That's good.
I think we came into the season understanding what the Flames were likely to be.
Yeah.
Right? I think last year there was I think the Flames, I don't know that we were fully in rebuild mode, either the players or the fans, and I think there was some denialism around maybe what they were. But I think this year we came in fully knowing that. So let's go through these. First question, is Rasmus Andersson a Flame at the end of the season? I said yes, you said no. We still don't know on that one. I think I'm leaning towards no, but we'll see what happens there. Question 2, Connor Zary got a 3-year extension. Does he or another young forward become a 50-plus point NHLer this season? We all said not him. So far, he's got 6 goals, 7 assists for 13 points, which puts him on a 26-point pace. But we all thought Coronado could be that guy, and I don't think that's going to happen either.
No. Honestly, I don't know as if anybody is going to get to a 50-goal pace or 50-point pace this year.
Coronado's got 24 points at the halfway, so I'd put him at, 44 if he stays at the same pace. He may be 50, but I think this is not the year for that.
No.
So that one's not looking good for us. Predict the player that no one expects to finish in the top 5 for team scoring. I said Frost, you said Sharon Govich, and our guest Kevin Olenek said Farabee. Do you still feel confident with that one?
Nope.
No? I'm just pulling up here. My browser is loading, but I'm just pulling up the current top 5. Team scoring right now is Backlund has 10 goals, if we look at goals. Kadri, 8. Let's do this. Coleman has 13. Coronado has 11. Backlund has 10. And then we have 3 guys at 9. Anderson, Farabee, and both have 9, and then Kadri, Huberdeau, Frost, Sharon Govich at 8. And if we look at overall points, it's Kadri with 32, Anderson 27, Backlund 26. So I think Frost and Farabee 19 and 18 right now. I don't think they sneak into the top 5 for scoring, but I would say both doing pretty well, and I think we need to give Sharon Govich some credit here. He's really turned his season around.
Yeah, he is looking a lot better the last couple of weeks.
He has. Ever since he got benched, I think he's looked better. Next question. Do the Flames win the Battle of Alberta? We all said no. As of now, we are wrong. The Flames currently lead the series 2-1 with 1 game left to play. So,
worst we can do is a tie.
That's it. There's no way we can lose this year. The best we can do is tie. So we all get that one wrong, which I guess is not a bad thing. That's one that I'm okay to get wrong. This one we're going to have to debate at the end of the season, but we'll talk about it now. Kevin Ball emerges as Calgary's #1 defenseman, logging top pair minutes and becoming the cornerstone of the blue line. I said yes, you said no. I think so far you're right. Ball's been steady, but I think that there's been other defensemen who've taken a bigger step this year than him. I wouldn't say he's the cornerstone of their blue line.
Yeah, like he is the best defensive defenseman that we have. And, him being plus 12 is, third on the team, only behind Backlund and Coleman. Anderson has, had his best season of his career this year. And even guys like Kuznetsov and Bruce Davich have done a lot to establish themselves as NHLers as well. So it's good to see. And we'll see how things go over the last 40 games, but I don't...
He's logging top pair minutes, but I'd say the cornerstone of our blue line has been Weegar. And Anderson. Anderson has been so far. Weegar right behind him and will be once Anderson leaves. Mm-hmm. I think this question was kind of anticipating that Anderson might have been out of here earlier.
Yeah.
Do the Flames finish top 15 in special teams? A big turnaround from recent years, and we all said no. Once again, their special teams have been a bit of a mess.
I think they're, 31st on the power play? Something like that.
Sounds about right, yeah.
I know Toronto's also been a disaster on the power play. So.
Kevin Olenek said yes to the PK, but on both sides, the Flames have not been great. And that's been part of their struggles this year. You've got to be able to capitalize when you're on the PP, and you've got to be able to keep pucks out on the PK. How many points do the Flames earn this year? I said 90. You said 80. Kevin said 85 to 90. We all said that they're going to end up out of the playoffs. And
by the way, just to harken back to that last thing, the Flames are 32nd on the power play out of 32 teams, and are actually 13th on the penalty kill. So we are in the top half on the
for the penalty kill.
Yeah. But on the aggregate, we're about 24th.
There you go. So we'll give ourselves partial credit, or give Kevin partial credit at the halfway point.
And Seattle is the dead last on the penalty kill, only managing at 70.3%, which... Yeah.
We got them coming up next, so we'll see if we can capitalize on that. So how many points the Flames earn? I said 90, you said 80, Kevin said 85 to 90. Right now the Flames are at 40 points, so if they continue this trajectory, you'll be the closest at 80. I don't see that there's any way that they get higher than 90, which is what I predicted. And, we all said they're out of the playoffs. As I mentioned earlier, you might almost stumble into a wild card just because so many teams around you might be bad, but I don't think this is a team that, how do I say this? This is not a team that makes their own way to the playoffs.
No. It's kind of accidentally fell into a playoff spot.
Exactly, yeah. It's like, oh crap, everybody around us was bad, and we ended up getting a couple, OT loss points and made it in there, and that might be the only way this team makes it. Will Dustin Wolf have another Vezina caliber season? I said no, he takes a step forward. You said no, but he takes a step forward. Kevin said no, he takes a step forward. I think so far, we've actually seen Dustin Wolf struggle more than he did last year.
Yeah, and that was mostly contained in the first half of the season, or, October. And he's been a lot better, generally, since, Cooley started getting more playing time. And I feel that those two things actually are, not coincidental. I feel that he was getting overplayed in the first, 15 games of the year. And, once he got back to his more normal workload from a year ago, his play bounced back.
Yeah, and I mean, we talked about Cooley being signed earlier. I think the emergence of Dustin Cooley is the goaltending story for this year, and the fact he's looked as good as he has, and the Flames can rely on him as well as they have. But yeah, I think that he was overworked early with Wolf, and he's coming back, but I still don't see the Wolf from last year. And I think part of that's also the defense in front of him.
Oh, for
is
sure.
not as good as last year. So I'd say let's wait and see, but I think we're all going to be right with no there. How many starts for Wolf? I said 60 to 65. You said 55 to 60, and so did Kevin. And right now he's got 32 starts, so he's on pace if they were to keep him this way for, 64? So I would say he'll probably get about 60, because I think as this season slips away from the Flames, you'll probably see more Cooley in net.
Mm-hmm.
And I think also, we've talked about this before, even if it doesn't slip away, if you're trying to influence the team to play hard, but maybe lose the games, you might put Cooley in net more.
Yeah.
Right? I don't want to say you tank, but if you're saying let's put out a product that maybe isn't going to get us the win, but we'll still try our hardest, you might put him in there. The next one is the most surprising to me. Will an AHLer surprise and become a full-time NHLer, which means 30 games or more? We said no. So far, that is Jan Kuznetsov. Kuznetsov has played 28 games now, so he is on track to definitely be that guy. And if you would have asked me at the beginning of the season, will Kuznetsov play 10 games, I would have said no.
Yeah.
I thought there was other guys in the depth chart that they probably would have put in there first. I thought they had, we didn't expect Mirmanov to fall off like he has. I thought that they had a heavy blue line, and I would have said that he was probably third or fourth on the depth chart. So
yeah, and honestly, Kuznetsov looks like he's been here for 5 years, for how well he's been playing at both ends of the ice. And he's actually chipping in offensively with 3 goals and 5 assists in the 27 games. And, basically doing everything that you could ask from a defenseman. You just wouldn't know that he was a rookie, frankly.
Yeah, that's it. And I think he came above his station in that call-up. I don't even think the Flames expect him to stick around. But, as Daryl Sutter used to say, when you get the opportunity, make the most of it. And that's what he's done.
Mm-hmm. Well, and, thankfully, the Flames have had enough depth where, you could put a guy like Paul as the number 7 and, be perfectly fine with that when somebody literally came in and took his spot.
Yep. I forgot Pahal was on the Flames roster this year until somebody mentioned it to me the other day.
Yeah.
They started the year with Hanzake. He got hurt. He's out now. So I think Kuznetsov will probably be the only one that's getting 30 games at this point.
Yeah, unless they bring up Stromgren soon. I think he is deserving of a shot.
He is deserving of a shot, but to play 30 games, you'd almost have to play every game from here on out. And I don't know who you're taking out of the lineup to do that.
Yeah.
Right? I think that's the challenge there. Mm-hmm. Unless someone gets really hurt. Even if you get a guy like Postel back, I don't know where you slot him in the lineup, but that's another story for another time. Who will have a breakout season? I said Frost, and you said Klapka. You thought you'd get more offense, maybe 30 points from Klapka. I think Klapka's definitely looked good. He's looked sort of like Kuznetsov, like he belongs in this league. Like he's been here for a while. He has 8 points right now, so if we project that out to 16, far from 30, but I think both of those are correct. I think Frost has really come along. I think he's looking good. He's been a number 1 center for this team for a good portion of the year. And I think Klapka, we've seen him projected all the way up to the top line. I think both of those are equally good picks. What do you think?
Well, and Klapka also has been learning from the Rasmus Anderson school of how to be a dick to the opponents and, mocking that guy last night, which was hilarious. And, he's getting a lot better at physically engaging with people. The amount of big hits that he threw in that game yesterday was impressive. And Frost has really emerged as a good two-way center. So I feel that both of those guys are quickly becoming mainstays for this lineup for the future.
You have mentioned so many times how, Farabee really takes the Blake Coleman role on this team, and I think Frost is becoming sort of the next Michael Backlund. And when Backlund retires, I think Frost will take over that two-way center role.
I agree. And it's good to have that kind of depth so that way, like when those guys move on, that you have those guys in the lineup and you can have a good supporting cast of young players starting to filter up around them and basically have those two to learn from moving forward.
I agree. And Kevin Olenek also predicted Frost on that one. Who will pleasantly surprise us? I said Sharon Govich, you said Klapka, Kevin said Kadri. Let's go through these one at a time. I think Sharon Govich started the year really disappointing, not surprising. I think he's come around and he's looking good again, but I wouldn't say that he's surprised. He's playing now, for me, as I would have expected from him.
Yes.
Klapka, I definitely think Klapka's pleasantly surprised us. I mean, this is a guy who's become an everyday NHLer, not just on the fourth line, and has really become a part of the team identity. So I think at least the halfway point, you get a point for that. Kevin said Kadri. I haven't seen anything special from Kadri this year.
No, he's basically been as expected.
As expected.
A good second-line center on a normal team. And
yeah,
perfectly fine.
Who will disappoint this season? I said Parekh, and then in brackets I had Bean and Maramanov. I think that we were talking about how one of those guys would probably end up going to the AHL. Parekh would disappoint. You said Zari, and Kevin said Ryan Huska's handling of Parekh. So let's address Parekh. Can we say that he's been disappointing so far?
Oh, for sure. And it's not his fault. Like, he just physically is not ready for the NHL full-time. And
I think he's disappointing to what the average fan wants. I expected him to be bad. Like, I expected this from him, but the average fan, I think, says, oh, Parekh, number one pick, must be fantastic, in the league right away. This is what I expected. We expected some struggles.
Yeah, and to be honest, like, I was kind of expecting, like, TJ Brody's first year as a Flame, where it's like, why is this guy here, level bad defense? And Parekh has gotten better at the defensive side of things in his time in Calgary and in the World Juniors, but still a little bit of an adventure, and he just needs to gain a little bit more muscle and confidence to be able to translate his game into the NHL.
I agree. And you had said Zari, and I will give you a point for Zari here. 39 points in, 13 points total. Last year he played 54 games, got 27 points. So really, he'll probably play more games and project out about the same points for what they're paying him, and the fact that he sat out for so long thinking he was worth more money. I don't think the Flames are really seeing that.
Yeah, like, honestly, I would not be surprised if he was included in a trade this year, to be honest.
If you need to free up a wing spot, you could easily take him off this team and nobody's going to notice.
Well, and like, I'm thinking back to like the Cousins trade last year to Ottawa, and how they sent Norris and Docker. Like, if say like a team, if you're going to get like a good player in return for Anderson, and you need to throw a little sweetener in to get like the good prospect that you're wanting.
Is he a sweetener or a sourer?
Well, the potential is still there for him to be a potential second-line player, and sometimes a change of scenery.
I think if you're going to put him as a sweetener, the Flames are going to have to eat half of his 3.7. I think if I was a GM, I'd say that's your mistake. You got to own that one.
Yeah.
Guy's not worth it. I'll take him at 2, but this is your mistake for signing that. You're going to be responsible for that.
Yep.
But what do I know? I'm not a GM. Who will be the top point getter for the Flames? You said Coronado, I said Coronado, you said Huberdeau, Kevin said Kadri. How confident are you with Huberdeau at this point?
Yeah, no.
As of right now, the top point getter is Kadri at 32 points.
Honestly, with Huberdeau, like, he is not even looking like an NHL player. Frankly, the last few weeks.
He's back to his first year in Calgary.
Honestly, he's playing at a worse level than that, to the point where it's like, does this guy need to go sit in the press box for a couple of games? and like it's bad.
So it's Kadri right now. Coronado's at 24 points. I don't think that we're going to see a huge resurgence from him. I honestly would not be surprised if Kadri ends up as the top point getter or even Anderson. I mean, if they wait till the trade deadline, I can see Anderson getting a bunch more points and nobody being able to follow him.
Mm-hmm.
So we were wrong on that one. Who will be the first Flame traded? I said Pospisil or Zari. You said Anderson. Kevin said Pospisil. I don't see there being any market for Pospisil now. If I'm a GM, why am I going to take a guy that is, been hurt all season? I don't see that unless you're tossing him in. Even then, I mean, it's not like you got to toss him in to make salary work. This guy's pretty cheap. I still think Anderson is probably the first guy traded. I could see some argument for maybe a Coleman, but I still think you'll be right with Anderson.
Yeah, Pospisil, to me, it feels more like when Ferland went to Vancouver and got hurt, and like a player that like if the Flames were to have traded him last year, they probably could have got some good value out of him.
Yeah,
but
as a GM, I'm not going to take on a guy who's got 3 years at 2.5 after this, who's sat out half the season.
Yeah, and who has like 7 documented concussions. And,
exactly.
Like he's honestly, I'm not even sure if Pospisil plays in the NHL anymore. Like level.
Yeah, I don't think so.
So it's unfortunate, but.
I mean, this I could easily see, and again, the Flames will have to own the extension on that. I thought it was a rich extension at the time, but I could see if he can't play, I mean, you either send him off to, the long-term disability
IR,
for 3 years, or buy it out,
or you just leave the cap hit. We can hit the cap floor.
That's true, yeah, and they may need that at 2.5. They may need that. I think if I'm going to go out and acquire that kind of player from the Flames as a GM, I'm probably targeting Klapka at this point, not Pospisil. And I mean, you mentioned Zari potentially being traded. I don't think Zari is his own trade. I think, like you said, if he gets moved, he's thrown in with something else. You're not going to get value for Zari on his own right now.
Yeah, it's sort of like how like the Frost deal came about last year, where like the primaries was Kuznetsov in the second, and Peltier was kind of the throw-in after the fact to balloon it up to the Farabee thing. Like they didn't really want to include Peltier, but they did. I feel it's that kind of thing where like the primary will be like either an Anderson or a Coleman, and you throw the other part into either balance salaries or you're getting like I could definitely see like Coleman getting traded to say like a team like New Jersey for Palat, and the Zari contract being thrown in just to make the money work for both sides.
The only way I could see Zari be moved on his own would be one of those deals that we end up finding out after the trade deadline's over. They got done last minute because some team just needed a forward somewhere, and Calgary ate half. But even then, I think Calgary would be getting like a 6th in return.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
So that's not going to be the first deal done. I hope that's not the first deal done. If that's the first deal done and nothing else gets done, we got to have some questions about Conroy.
Yeah.
Next one. Does Devin Cooley end the season as our backup? I said yes. You said no. It's likely Prosvetov. Kevin also said no. I think I'm going to take the win on this one at the halfway point.
Yeah. Barring injury, yes.
Yeah, I mean... Yeah, okay, you're right. There might be injury. I thought we were kind of having the discussion here that, the Flames might just swap guys midway through the season. I think that, especially with a 2-year deal here, I think we can say that even if he's not on the roster, Devin Cooley is the backup goalie for the Flames at the end of the year, right? If he's hurt, he's still the backup. He's not the AHL starter. So I'll take the win on that. Who will be the first call-ups, forward and defense, for the season? And we were assuming the Gridden was not in those because he was on the opening day roster. So I said Honzig and Poirier. You said Morton, Kuznetsov. Kevin said Kearns and Kuznetsov. The correct answers were Honzig and Kuznetsov. So even though we thought Kuznetsov would be a call-up, I didn't think that he would stick around at all. We have seen Morton, we have seen Cairns here, and I think they expected Honzig to still be in the lineup if he wasn't hurt. So you and I both got one part right. I got the right forward, wrong D. You got the wrong forward, right D. So we'll each get a half point for that one at the end of the season. And then the last question that we asked ourselves was, what do the Flames need to do to be successful this season? You said we need at least 2 veterans leaving and opening spots for young players. We haven't really done that yet. I think that's feasible, but we haven't seen it. And
I would actually say one of those spots, yes, just because between Bean and Miramanov not playing, it has opened up a spot for Kuznetsov to make the team and stick. He's kind of forced his way on the team.
Did he force his way, though? I mean, I think that Miramanov played his way off the team.
Well, how would you say, when he came up, like, I felt like he was only supposed to be here for like a couple of games, and his level of play made him stick. And
but they didn't really move a veteran to do that, which what you said. Like Bean
True.
is injured, right? Miramanov played his way to the American League. Like, I think you get half of it right for that. But when we're looking at the young players that need to play here, I think that there's more than Kuznetsov that needs that spot, right? I mean, we're seeing Brstevich here. I think that there's some questions around forwards that might need to come up. Like, I think Kuznetsov took that spot, but I wouldn't say that he's beat out a veteran for it. And I said that we need to establish our top 3 emerging forwards under 26. I give myself a half point in some ways. Like, I think they've given Frost a chance to play near the top. He is 26. I think Honzig would have more chance if he was in the lineup. And I think that they've given Coronado every chance they have, but he hasn't done much there. I think Farabee has been given every chance he can. I think Zari's been given chances. I think they're giving those chances to those young forwards, but in a rebuilding year, nobody's really taken it. So I don't think we've established them as bona fide guys, but we've given them the chance to. So I don't know what you think. I think at this point, that's a half point. If I think the Flames have given them the chances, but when you got to shuffle lines like they did last game and go back to your veterans, those guys aren't seizing the opportunity.
No, and you look at like both Coronado and Zari, and like realistically, like if this team was like an actual contending team, they probably wouldn't be in the lineup.
No. I mean, Coronado should be a good player here, and I still think will be a good player here. I still think that he will be a good Flame, but now he's having a bad year, and I think that's all it might be, is a bad year. I mean, this whole team is having a bad year, let's be honest.
Yeah, well, and it also doesn't help that the Flames don't really have any offensive weapons to put with a guy like Coronado. Because, like, Coronado can't really drive the play himself. Like, he needs somebody to pass him the puck so he can take his shots. And, you know, like, it's one of those, like, the Flames just don't have that kind of a setup.
But I think, again, they've given those chances. Like, they gave Frost that chance, right? They've given guys that chance, and it just hasn't worked out. Mm-hmm. I think they're trying to build that chemistry from within. And then all of us said that one of the keys is not trading their way into the playoffs. We need to let this roster do what it can and either sink or swim on its own. You can't try to, we're close to the wild card, trade our way in or bring in that veteran. And so far they haven't done that. I'm honestly surprised how little roster movement there's been so far. Like, I expected one of the veterans to be traded already, but yeah, I would say that we're on point with that one.
Yeah, and like I personally would hate it if the Flames went out and traded for anybody. It doesn't even matter if it's like a 7th round pick for a forward, unless it's like a deal like the Frost Farabee deal where it's like, well, you'd be stupid not to take that.
But that
deal.
was more of a hockey deal. That wasn't trading their way into the playoffs. They were still getting 2 young players.
Yeah, and
I think you will see some trades this year, but they're not going to trade an asset for that, that veteran guy. Mm-hmm. You're not going to go out and get, Ryan O'Reilly to try and boost your playoff chances. And, even the Frost Farabee deal, they were 2 young guys the Flames thought they could build around. Mm-hmm. And I think you might see some of that. And I think with Coleman potentially, with Kadri potentially, with Anderson potential, you will probably see an NHL piece come back in one of those deals. Sort of like a Coleman, or sort of like a Frost Farabee. I still think one of those deals, you mentioned Palat earlier, I think you will see some NHL piece come back. But we'll find out. I think that's the big story going into 2026 is what happens with Anderson. Would you disagree?
Yeah, and honestly, with the Flames playing better and pushing towards the playoff spot, my feeling that they're going to sign him to a long-term extension is growing. And, which I think would piss off anybody that, looks at the depth chart in the organization going, so you're going to stifle both Bruce Davidge and Parekh. Great.
I think you said it really well earlier this season. If they trade Anderson and they can sort of influence this team to be bad, you can still play the hardest you can, go out there and play good hockey, but you just don't have the pieces to get it done at that point. Sort of like we were saying earlier, if they were to not play Wolf and they were to play Cooley a little bit more, right? You're still going out and you're playing hard, but maybe you're not getting the goaltending that you need to get the win. I don't know. We'll see. I thought they might re-sign Anderson at the beginning of the season, as you know, but I agree with you. As they get closer and closer to a potential playoff spot, I'm not sure what they're going to do anymore, and I think that'll be the big story of 2026.
No.
Should we look at the season or the week that's coming up?
And, we'll be on the road for quite a bit of it.
Yep. So the last week we made our predictions. I thought that we would beat Philly and lose to Boston and Nashville. You thought we'd beat Nashville, lose to Boston and Philly. We beat Boston, Philly, and lost to Nashville. You and I just can't get a break this year. The only time you've got one right is when you predicted 3 losses. And I got one randomly right the week that we played Florida, Tampa Bay, and Carolina.
Yeah.
So this week, the Flames are on the road. They have 4 games this week. They're going to be embarking on a 5-game road trip. Before they go on Monday night, they have 1 game here against Seattle, a 7:30 start time at the Dome. Then on the 7th, they're off to Montreal, a 5:30 p.m. start time here. Back-to-back with Boston, 5 p.m. on Thursday. Then they have a day off. Saturday, they play a 1:30 matinee game against the Pittsburgh Penguins in Pittsburgh. That'll be their 4 games for this week and the start of this road trip. Matt, what are you predicting for this?
I'm going to be Debbie Downer, 0-4.
Wow.
I feel that, this team, they've been doing so well, and I've been seeing a lot of bad habits creeping in their game, and, they're on the road where they don't normally do well. Plus, they're playing Seattle, who sometimes they're great against and sometimes they're terrible against. I just feel that they're going to tip a little bit on the ledger to the not-so-good side of things.
I mean, I thought that they were doing well, too, and I feel like, sometimes when you're doing so well, you take some shortcuts, you cheat at it, and eventually get called out, and I feel like that's how the Flames have been for the last couple of weeks, and that Nashville game kind of showed them, hey, guys, you're cheating, you're not doing as well as you should, you're not doing it by the book, and they kind of got called out there. We should have beat Nashville, and we didn't. We should beat Seattle. I don't know if we're going to. I'm going to say the Flames split this week. I think that they will lose to Seattle, because I think coming off that loss, they'll probably lose. I think they're going to lose to Montreal. I'll say that they win the last 2. I think they're going to beat Boston and they're going to beat Pittsburgh, even though it's a matinee and I know better. I'm going to say they beat Boston, they beat Pittsburgh. Where do you see Cooley?
Oh, probably the Boston game, just to give the Canadians a different look, or the Bruins a different look from the other week. Yeah, and coincidentally, the Flames lost 2-1 in overtime against Montreal earlier this year and beat Boston 2-1 in overtime earlier this year. So it'll be interesting to see if either of those games feature a little bit more offense or if they're going to be equally exciting.
And Pittsburgh is a team, again, that I think is on the downslide a little bit this year.
Yet they're in a playoff spot because nothing makes sense.
That's true. And you know what? The Stuart Skinner, our old nemesis from the Oilers, may be in net there. Oh, I guess still hurt. We'll see if he's healthy or not. But Yeah, we might see the goalie that has stymied the Flames a few times there in different colors.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what his projected return date is, but I thought it was funny that he goes to Pittsburgh and gets hurt, and it's like you just traded for a goalie you can't use.
Yeah, and it's worked for both teams. Like Jari's out, Skinner's out. It's like
that's true.
Okay, cool. We're paying.
That's
for
true.
Each
Yeah, I
other's
guess Jari is out too.
IR bills.
So yeah, Eastern road trip. I think this is one of the longest road trips this season for the Flames, if not the longest, and all early games. So after that Monday game, remember you've got a 5:30, a 5, and a 1:30 start. So for Flames fans, make sure you're leaving work a little bit early on those days.
Yeah, and even next week they have a 5, a 6:30, and a 1 p.m. start. So
I can't remember last time we had
typical.
2 1 p.m.s like week after week.
Well, and then at the end of the month there's a 2 p.m. game too. So everything's a little cockeyed with that.
The 2 p.m. with San Jose confuses me. Like I sort of get it when we're playing Eastern teams that we play early.
I think that's Hockey Day in Canada.
Oh, okay, that would make sense. Yeah, because I'm thinking these are 2 Western teams on Western time. Why are we playing so early?
Yeah, I think that's the reason.
That would make sense. Yeah, and then I think that's their last matinee game for the season.
Yeah, I'm looking ahead and
yeah, it is.
Yeah,
those are their last matinees for the season. So.
Yeah, all the rest of the games are normal time, except for
either
a Seattle game at 5 p.m. The last.
But even
Saturday.
that's normal. Yeah, I mean that's a normal Eastern time. But yeah, weird time to take on a Western opponent.
Yeah, but Hockey Night in Canada makes sense.
Yeah, and honestly, you're not going to give prime time to Calgary and Seattle right now. All right, Matt. Well, have a good first 4 games, or I guess good first week of this new year, and we will talk to you next week.
Yep, and as always, go Flames, go.
Fireside Chat is hosted by Dan Stevenson, co-hosted by Matt DeBorg. This episode produced and edited by Peter Marino. Fireside Chat is licensed under Creative Commons license. For full license details, visit firesidechat.ca.